Hey, welcome. Today, we're diving deep into the engine of our economy, the price system. We're going to break down how prices get set, how we all react to them, and how this whole system decides who gets what from your morning coffee to the phone in your pocket. All right, let's jump right in. Have you ever stopped to think about this? It's a great question, and it actually holds the key to understanding the two most powerful forces in economics, supply and demand. It's all about how sensitive we are to price changes, and it's really at the heart of everything we're going to talk about. So to get to the bottom of that question, we have to start with the basics. We need to understand the two fundamental sides of any market. You've got the buyers who create demand, and you've got the sellers who bring the supply. Now, here's a key detail. In economics, just, wanting something doesn't count as demand. Not really. You have to have the cash to actually back it up. That's what we call effective demand. It's the combination of wanting something and being able to afford it. Okay, so check this out. There are two really important things to get straight here. First, on the left, if only the price of something changes, we just move up or down along the demand curve that's already there. Simple enough. But what if something else changes? Like, let's say you get a big raise. You're probably going to buy more coffee at every single price point. And that, what you see on the right, is a total shift of the entire curve. So what kind of things cause these big shifts? Well, it could be a ton of stuff. Maybe the price of tea, a substitute for coffee, suddenly skyrockets, making coffee look like a better deal. Or maybe a really clever ad campaign makes everyone suddenly crave a certain brand. Heck, even just more people moving into a city can shift the whole demand curve to the right. All right, so that's the buyer's side of the story. But what about the sellers? You know what? The logic for them is pretty much the same. A change in price causes a simple movement along their supply curve, but other factors, they cause the whole curve to shift. So for the people making the products, a shift could be triggered by, say, the cost of their raw materials suddenly dropping, or maybe a brilliant new piece of tech makes their factory way more efficient. A government subsidy could encourage them to produce more, or you could simply have more companies jump into the market, which of course increases the total supply. So we get demands, we get supply, but the big question is, how much do they react when things change? That's where this awesome concept called elasticity comes in. It's all about responsiveness. Just think about it for a second. If a luxury car brand offers a 10% discount, it's not like that's suddenly going to make it affordable for most of us, right? But a 10% drop on a plane ticket, that could be the one thing that makes you say, okay, I'm booking that vacation. This is price elasticity of demand in action. So, how do we actually measure this? Well, economists have a formula for it. It's called price elasticity of demand, or PED, and it simply tells us how much our buying habits change when a price changes. You just take the percentage change in the quantity people demand, and you divide it by the percentage change in the price. And this is where you see the two big categories. Things like essential medicine or fuel have what we call inelastic demand. We pretty much buy them no matter what the price tag says. But a specific brand of soda, that's got elastic demand. If its price goes up even a little bit, we'll just switch to the competitor right next to it on the shelf. But hey, elasticity isn't just about price. We can also measure how demand changes when our income changes. For some things, demand goes up when we make more money. But for other things, like maybe cheaper fast food, demand might actually go down as people get richer and switch to other options. And of course, the supply side has elasticity too. If the price of strawberries suddenly goes through the roof, farmers want to supply more, right? But they can't just snap their fingers and make more strawberries appear. How long it takes and how easy it is to ramp up production, that's what determines the price elasticity of supply. So you've got buyers, you've got sellers, and they're all reacting to prices in their own ways. So how do they all come together? Let's look at how the market finds that sweet spot where they can both agree on a price and a quantity. Take a look at where these two curves cross. This exact point is what economists call equilibrium. It's the magic price where the amount that sellers want to sell is exactly equal to the amount that buyers want to buy. At this price, the market clears. No shortages, no leftovers. But what happens when things change in the real world? Let's say a bad harvest means there's less wheat available at any price. That's a shift of the supply curve to the left. The result? You get a new, higher equilibrium price for wheat. And eventually, that's going to mean a higher price for your loaf of bread. So when you step back, you see prices are doing three incredible, crucial jobs in our economy. First, they signal information. A high price signals scarcity. Second, they incentivize people. That high price gives producers an incentive to make more. And finally, they ration what we have, making sure that scarce goods go to the people who are most willing to pay for them. But there's actually more going on in a transaction than just the price. There's this hidden value, this kind of win that both the buyer and the seller get. And yeah, economists have a name for it: surplus. We've all had this feeling, right? You snag a concert ticket for $50, but you secretly know you'd have happily paid $100 because you just love the band that much. Well, that feeling is a real economic concept. That awesome feeling? That is your consumer surplus. It's that extra bit of value you get, the gap between the absolute maximum you were willing to pay and the lower price you actually ended up paying. It's your win. Of course they have. And the exact same thing is true for producers. Let's think about a coffee shop. They might sell you a latte for $3, but maybe their rock bottom cost to make and serve it was only $1. That extra $2 they made, that's their producer surplus. It's the difference between the market price they got and the lowest price they would have been willing to accept. And when you add consumer and producer surplus together, you get the total benefit, the total welfare that the market has created. Okay, so let's tie this all together with one last thought. Imagine new tech makes it cheaper to produce smartphones. Supply shifts to the right, prices fall. But who gets the bigger piece of the pie from that price drop? The buyers or the sellers? Well, if demand is inelastic, meaning we'd buy them anyway, consumers benefit massively from that price drop. If demand is elastic, producers might get to keep more of that benefit. See? It all comes down to elasticity. So at the end of the day, remember that prices aren't just random numbers. They really are the invisible language of the economy. Every time a price goes up or down, it's telling a story about scarcity, desire, and what we as a society truly value. Understanding this language helps us answer the really big questions. How do markets signal what we want? And what decides how everything gets allocated? It really is the first step to understanding the entire economic world around us.